Metal or plastic? A common deciding factor when it comes to getting dice. Should you go for the heavier, very cool looking and very nice feeling metal dice? Or the more wildly popular, more affordable, and far more variations, plastic dice? Now, of course, plastic dice are the most common types of dice you will find in most tabletop games. They're affordable, there are a wide variation of them, from different colors to shapes to sizes to even different complete variations of dice that you've never even seen before in most games. And there's nothing wrong with plastic dice. They're wonderful. I own several sets of plastic dice myself. They're affordable and they're easy to get your hands on. So why then would people opt to get metal ones instead? Metal dice are, of course, much more expensive than plastic dice, being that they are made of metal instead of plastic. They're heavier, they're sharper, they'll eat up your table if you don't have some kind of protection when you're rolling it. You almost have to get a dice tray when you get them just so you don't destroy your DM's table when rolling them as well. So why would you bother getting metal dice over the more common and more affordable plastic ones? Well, the answer is in the question itself. Metal dice feel more luxurious. They feel better. When you roll a standard plastic die, it will roll around a little bit before settling on its number. Most of the time, it won't take too long, maybe a second or two before it finally lands on the right number for your roll. Sometimes the edges can be a little bit more rounded, so they will roll for much longer before finally settling, where you will typically not find this on metal dice. Metal dice tend to have much sharper edges and more defined points. Therefore, when you roll them, they come to a stop much shorter. They're heavier as well, which causes them to stop much quicker due to the fact of the extra weight. And as previously mentioned, if you are rolling on a table that has no kind of protection whatsoever, you better hope that table is made of felt or cloth, because it will definitely make indentations in it. You can even see in one of my previous videos, behind my DM screen, I have a giant play mat used for Magic the Gathering. That's not because it looks nice, that's because I roll metal dice and I'm tired of them chipping up my table. But of course the easy answer is, well, then just roll plastic dice. But then we come back to the earlier statement of rolling metal dice feels much better than plastic. So why are metal dice not more common then if they feel better than plastic? And that comes back to one of the other things I had mentioned: cost. Now, plastic dice can vary in cost as well, depending if you're getting a bunch of D6s for something like Warhammer or regular tabletop games, or if you're getting a different set like a D6, D8, D12, D10, and a D20, and what have you for things like Dungeons & Dragons. But most of the time, you're probably looking at spending no more than $15 for a nice set of plastic dice. And once again, $15 is on the upper range, and I'm speaking in Canadian dollars. Metal dice, however, are far more expensive because, once again, they are not made with very easy to make plastic. They are made out of metal, which requires more money because of the cost of material. But metal dice fluctuate in cost a lot as well. This metal die here came with a set for Dungeons & Dragons, and you can get it on Amazon for about 25 Canadian dollars. However, I believe the reason you can get this dice set at around $25 is because it is ever so slightly smaller than your standard set of dice that would come in plastic. It's hard to tell on camera looking at them here, but if you look at them in the naked eye, you can tell that this D20 is just a smidget smaller than this plastic one. But alas, not all metal dice are made of the same type of metal. This one, like I had mentioned before, is made of a lighter type of metal, and that is why its set was $25, whereas this metal die here is made of a much denser metal. It is far heavier in the hand, and that is why this metal die, along with the set it came with, was 60 Canadian dollars versus this one, which was only 25. And it is unheard of that you would ever buy a set of plastic dice for tabletop role-playing games for 60 Canadian dollars. At that range of price, you're looking at getting a custom-made set of plastic dice that are not commonly found in your local tabletop store. But now let's wrap up this video by answering your question: should you get metal or plastic dice for your game? It depends on the game you're playing. If you're the type of person who likes to collect hordes and hordes of dice and keep them shelved away in filing cabinets or bags in your backpack and all kinds of places, then you really are probably the type of person who's going to be collecting plastic dice. They're affordable, they're lightweight, and you can store them easily amongst your hordes of other dice treasures that you own. The same reason to get plastic dice is for your money conscience. If you don't have a whole lot of money, but you still need some dice to play with, Plastic is the way to go. They're beautiful looking, they're nice to hold, they're nice to roll, and no one will give you any funny looks because your dice are making loud click-clacky noises across the table. And especially if you play games that use a lot of dice at a time, like Warhammer 40,000, where you are typically rolling a swath of d6s at a time, especially if you play something like Khorne Berserkers or Orcs, where you're having huge handfuls of dice spilling onto the table. Don't do that with metal dice. It's going to become a hazard for you, the other players, and the table. But if you have a bit of extra money to spend, and you want a set of dice that will last a long time, that feel great in the hand and feel wonderful when you roll them and sound wonderful when you roll them, metal is the way to go. And you can get metal dice at a fairly low entry cost, like the one I mentioned before, which is around $25 for a set on Amazon. I would recommend going into your local hobby shop, however, and grabbing a set of metal dice and a set of plastic dice and rolling them just to see how they feel to you. If they feel good in your hand and you enjoy the way they feel when you roll them, that's the set you should buy.